of The Broken Window. See if you can see that. Probably should turn off my TV. Okay, there we go. Jeffrey Deaver, Broken Window. So this is a Lincoln Rhymes book. So the main character is Lincoln Rhymes. He is the criminalist that has been hurt, and so he's only able to move his head and then I think his right hand. It was done, The Bone Collector was the first book that he showed up in, and that's actually turned into the movie. Lincoln Rhymes is played by Denzel Washington, and then Amelia Sachs, who in the book, The Bone Collector, starts working for him. She's also becomes a criminalist, so experts in looking at the evidence, the physical evidence. So this book is taking place after that. They are now dating, and they are, of course, looking for a murderer. So the premise of the book, which is actually kind of cool, is that there are these murders that happen that are clear-cut. They find evidence right away on who did it. Very clear evidence. There's already, I think, 3 people in jail. Lincoln Rhymes' cousin is now put in jail for killing this woman. And there's very clear evidence that he did it. I think there's his shoe print. There's a bloody rag with the girl's blood in his car. It's just straightforward. So of course it comes to Lincoln Rhymes and Amelia Sachs to take a look at it. Well, it turns out, and I'm not giving anything away, that a murderer is using the public data that's out there for everybody, credit card statements, DMV, Social Security, all the information that's out there publicly. He works for a company that assembles all that information, is like a data warehouse, and sells it and makes reports. So he ends up researching the person he wants to kill, then researching the person he wants to blame that on. So he murders, in this case, a woman, and then leaves evidence behind that it's somebody else has killed him, and then goes to the guy's house and leaves more evidence. So early on they realize what it is, and they go through to find him. So overall I thought it was interesting. Definitely Jeffrey Deaver is just a great author and makes it very easy to read. The thing about this book that surprised me was Jeffrey Deaver, it says in his bio, was a that's what I'm looking for, reporter. And this book really came across to me as if it was his way of talking about the danger out there and all this public information. How we have to be careful as consumers. So while it was an interesting premise to the book, I felt as if he went on the deep end and talked in so much detail about what information was out there that it became a little old for me. For example, they run the report on Amelia Sachs to see, and there are literally 4 pages in this book on exactly what her dossier says. So that amount of information for me was 4 pages, ridiculous, where they could have had one paragraph that said, you know, her educational background, her work background, all that stuff was in there. And even at the end, he writes an author's note and talks about if you have issues and you're worried and you want to know more information about the privacy rights, he lists a couple websites such as the Global Internet Liberty Campaign or the Privacy Coalition. So besides that, I thought the book was very interesting. The nice thing about it, he's quite gruesome in some of the books. Like The Bone Collector, they talk about gnawing off a finger and leaving it in there, and then, you know, boiling some woman with steam. This was very mild in the violence section as opposed to his other ones. So it's definitely, I would recommend reading it if you like Deaver. It's interesting, you like Lincoln Rhymes, you like Amelia Sachs. Of course, you picture them as Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie, which, you know, are pretty people. But that's what I think of Jeffrey Deaver's book, The Broken Window. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. I am here today to review The Broken Window by Jeffrey Deaver. My name is C. This book, as T will have already told you, is about a serial killer who meticulously researches his victims and also the people who he is going to set up for the crimes before committing the crimes through the use of information gathering, data mining, knowledge collecting, I think is what they call it. This book was exceptionally well written. I almost feel like I am offending Jeffrey Deaver by saying this just because I was so impressed with the writing of the book, with the subject lines. It has several subplots that were very interesting. I don't believe that I've ever read a Jeffrey Deaver book. I may have seen Bone Collector years ago, the movie, but I've never read a book of his before, and he is definitely my new favorite author. This is a Lincoln Rhyme novel. If you have not read a Lincoln Rhyme novel, which I had not, you will not be left behind. He doesn't feel the need to give you a lot of background information, and you don't really need a lot of background information when understanding the book. So it was great. It really was. The only thing I didn't like about the book, and it wasn't really something I didn't like, but throughout the book there's a sub-story that it's talking about, a serial killer in England, and my guess is that it's a common theme running through all of his Lincoln Rhyme book. It's like an unattainable killer he's been searching for, of course whose name I can't remember now, but he sent him a clock at the end of it, if that helps anybody. But it was distracting to me because I didn't know anything about the person. I didn't feel like he really gave a lot of background information. It was just every time that he would start to work on that case, I didn't know anything about it, I didn't care anything about it, so it was a little distracting. That was the only thing. I listened to T's review of this before I read the book, and I understand her point about knowledge gathering, but it didn't, about the excess mention of the invasion of privacy, but to me it was interesting and unique, and it didn't bother me at all. I saw the part where there's like a 9-page list. To me it was very interesting, and I read all 9 pages, so it didn't bother me at all. And I really love this book. I give it an A+, for its unique plot, detailed storyline, interesting storyline, complex, interesting characters that you cared about. There were a lot of characters in the book, but it was very easy to keep track of all of them, and it was like every little sub-story would be like a little gem that I really cherished reading this book, and I loved it. So A+, Jeffrey Deaver, The Broken Window. Thanks.